Hey guys, welcome to another All Bass Creations Effects Tutorials, Demos, and Review. Today we're going to be putting the Line 6 Pod Express bass against the two Zoom multi-effects, one of them being the MS-60B, and we're going to put up the Zoom B6 and the Ampeg SGT-DI. And we're going to put them all up on the SVT setting and just do a comparison of these units and just see what they all sound like side by side. So let's go ahead and start with my bass with nothing on it. So that's my bass flat. All right, let's start with the Pod Express, and we're doing these first with no IRs right now, and then I am going to put on a SVT 410 Pro, the cabinet, and I'm going to use the one on the Zoom B6 because one, it's the last one in my chain, last thing in my chain, and it also, I know these ones sound really good, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of that IR right now. Well, I'll wait. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Line 6 Pod Express bass, and this is with just the SVT preamp, right? So that's the Line 6 Pod Express SVT preamp. And the trick to all these SVT plugins or like pedals, things like that, emulations, whatever. A lot of times, and the real thing when you're using one live, if you want the cleaner sound, you just keep that gain really low and you push the master volume up. So, all right, let's start with the Zoom MS-60B next. So that's the MS-60B. And again, uh, one the one of the few things I actually like about this Line 6 Pod Express bass. If you watch my other review, you already know I ain't feeling it like that. But one of the things I do like about it is it does have decent amp models in there. I don't like the way the IR sound on them that they have built into them, but I like the way the preamp sounds they have are programmed in there. Um, but as you can see, that zoom is, it's just a preference thing right there between that and the zoom setting. The zoom MS-60B, that's the SVT on there. And just so you guys can have a few settings if you wanted to see what settings I'm using. I'm pretty much looking at everything like a clock. So um, all the bass settings on all of these pedals are set around 3 o'clock. You know, and um, all the mids are set to around 11, 10:30, somewhere around there. If you're looking at, I don't even know if kids know about analog clocks anymore, like clock face. But yeah, and all the treble knobs are set to around 3 o'clock, or around 2:30, 2:30, a little less than the bass. No ultra highs or ultra lows on. Um, and pretty much the master volume all the way up with the gain around 20%, somewhere around there. So I pretty much kept it even as much as I could. They're different emulations, so I can't keep it exact. But those are those two. All right. So let's flip back. Let's do a little quick flip back and forth between the two. All right. So let's go back with the MS-60B. The Pod Express. I actually think the bright switch might, or the ultra highs might be on the emulation that they put on there. I'm not sure. It's kind of bright for SVT sound. Period. It's that sounds like the ultra highs might be on, but I didn't want to put it on the other emulations. Um, if it is, I'm not sure. So, but it sounds like it would be an SVT on the Line 6 pedal. Sounds like it's an SVT with the ultra high switch on as well. So. So, that just becomes preference. You can make the Zoom MS-60B one brighter. Again, the ultra high switch isn't on. The treble is set um, to about 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And the thing I do love about the SVT on the MS-60B, you have that well, I think you actually have that on here too. On both of those, I believe you have a mid frequency um, sweep that you can do. So you can pick which mid frequency, between the lower mids and the higher mids frequency that you would like to cut. And you can adjust that as well. So, that's something else to look at when you're dealing with all these pedals. It's a little bit easier to access on the Zoom MS-60B. You can easily just, bam, go here, click once, and adjust the mids, or you can click twice and adjust the mid frequency, the gain, the level, and then click again, and then you can adjust the ultra highs, the cab emulation, and the mix of the cab emulation and the preamp. Something you can't do on the Line 6 um, pedal. You know, you can't mix how much of the cab emulation you want to use versus how much of the preamp. And I'll give you a quick example. I'll turn on the MS-60B. I'll turn on this. Let's see, AG. So let's turn on the 410s with let's just use like 10% of it. Let's use 11%. Let's do something like that. 11%. So this is the SVT on the MS-60B with the cab emulation, but it's only 11% of the mix. And I can adjust the mix. Let's say I wanted more 40%, 40% bass cabinet, and then 60% the SVT preamp. Not to mention, it's way easier to adjust the cabinets. Say I wanted a different cabinet, I can just turn the knob on there, audition it. That's a Bassman 412. I can do a Harkey 410. I can do a acoustic 118. And you don't really want these on when you're running to a amp. You don't want it when you run into an actual real amp. If you're running to a system, say you have this as your signal path, or like kind of like your preamp going to the system, you would just set it up like this, but you wouldn't have it, you know. And this is for all these pedals. The Line 6 Pod, Express Bass, the MS-60B, even the SGT, you can set up like this. You know, you want to split that. You know, the reason why on the SGT, the IRs only come out of the XLR. That's for a reason. Because that's the only one that usually goes to the house, and you don't need a DI box. You just plug in the XLR, run it to the PA system, and you good. It is a excuse me, it is a DI box. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, these other ones, you know, it's a little different. So, now let's hear a little bit of the Line 6 Pod Express with the actual cabinet. I mean, I think they're using IRs on here. They said they're using IRs, I believe. These might just be cab simulations. They sound like cab simulations to me, but y'all can tell me. So you gotta, this is the only thing. I hate this pedal's adjustability, the way you can have to adjust things. You gotta hold Alt, tap, and then, you know, you can change the cabinet. And then you gotta put it to grit to match the cabinet. So here we go. So compare that to the MS-60B mixed with an 810 cabinet. That sounds great. I mean, that's why I was saying, guys. This line six pedal, I don't know if it's holding up. This the original MS-60B, and it's still having a problem with the line six pedal is still having a problem keeping up with that. And that's just with the amp models, and that's the best part of the line six pedal. Once you throw on them IR cabinets, the cabinets, because you can't mix them on the line six one, for me it makes them unusable. I do not want just the sound from the cabinet. I need some of that preamp sound, for going to the house and recording purposes. And I can easily mix in some on the MS-60B. I can easily change the cabs. I can do all this with one hand. Literally, I can change everything with one hand. That's how easy things should be to use. You got to be able to use a pedal with one hand. You shouldn't have to use two hands to operate a pedal. And because you have to press Alt and this, only way you can do it with one hand is if you get this extra coordination going where you're pressing this and holding this, and nobody's really trying to do all that. So I'm gonna clear my preset on there. Not clear it. I'm gonna change it back to the original preset. You gotta press these two down to get to the presets, then press them down again to get back to regular mode, so you can edit things. So I'm gonna turn the mix back off. I'm gonna turn this cabinet back off on the MS-60B. And let's see. Now let's hear from the SGT-DI, and I have it with the SGT circuit on, set to SVT. Again, the bass, all the EQ settings are set similar. That bass is set around 3 o'clock. The mids are set around around 11, 10:30. And typically, I have these mid frequencies set around 250. I usually set the mid frequencies around 250. I even set them at 250 or 500. Depending on which application I'm using, or what the mix is, at the time, I either cut my mids around 250 or 500, somewhere in that area. And if I'm going to boost my mids, it's going to be, 800 or up, you know what I'm saying, in the mid area if I'm going to boost them. So just a little tip there. All right, we on to the SVT. Here we go. This is just the preamp. So that yeah, I love that sound. That actually is that's mad warm. That sounds really good. That's that's probably the closest one out of all of them. You know, here's the Zoom B6 with the SVT Ampeg SVT, and on this one, just so you have the actual numbers I'm using 12 on the bass. I have that set to 12. Again, the mid is set to 250. Mids on here is minus 2.5, and the treble is set to 10.5 on there. Gain is 22. Ultra, all the filters are off. Ultra high, ultra low, and the volume is set to 100. So here we go. SGT. That SGT sounds so good, yo. I ain't gonna lie. That SGT just sounds so good. All right, so let's do line 6, bass express. I mean pod express, bass express, pod bass. I mean pod express bass. And MS-60B. So, as you can see, they all have a decent tone to them. All of them. If you're on a real budget, and you know, if you gotta pick one pedal, like say you at that 150 mark, you know, around the same price as the Line 6 and the Pod Express and the MS-60B, I would go with it. They gonna ready to come out with a new MS-60B with IR, multi-layered IRs, all that stuff. Pretty much all the IRs I'm going to use on my B6 here. They're gonna probably have those same ones on the multi-stump. So I mean, I would check out the Zoom one. You know, if you got them, you know what I'm saying. So and they're gonna be about $120 versus $170. So it's a better deal, and you get a wider variety of effects. You can adjust the order. Um, you have way more parameters to adjust and things like that. So and the ease of use, like I said, one hand adjustable, adjustments. You're not using. You don't need both hands on one little unit like this. Let me try to. It's like, come on, man, it's too much. So, and they're improving the sound quality on the newer Zoom pedals as well. So that's also something to consider, guys, before getting this Line 6 pedal. All right, so now let's run them through. I have a, let me see, make sure this is right. Yeah, I got the SVT4 with a tweeter IR on the Zoom B6 that I'm gonna run everything through, so I can run everything through one IR, and IRs, you know, I like these ones on the Zoom. They on the B6. The ones on the B6 are fire to me, bro. Like, they sound better than the ones on the Ampeg on the SGT to me, and they also sound better than the cab simulations on the MS-60B, and they sound better than the I don't know if these are cab simulations or IRs on the Pod Express base, but sounds better than those too. So the settings I have on the SVT4 with a tweeter is basically mic'd up SVT Ampeg 410 cabinet with a RE20 and a SM57 on it. And the settings are the lows are set to 61, highs are set to 78, the balance is -11, and the volume is -3.3. And right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play with my bass with none of the preamps on right now. Okay, get the point. All right, so while we on the MS-60, while we on the Zoom B6, you might as well turn on that SVT. And this is pretty much my live setting for matter of fact, let's do this. We're gonna polish up the sound a bit, cause I'm gonna run everything through this 160 compressor. So it's pretty much a DBX 160 compressor emulation. So here's that before I turn on the SVT preamp. So this is just the compressor and the IR. Alright, so now I'm going to turn on the SVT amp. So this is like what I call my full SVT setup in my Zoom B6 for when I just take my Zoom B6 and I'm working like theater gigs and I need SVT, full SVT rig. This is what I run. So that's what I'm gonna take the SVT amp preamp off on the Zoom B6, and I'm gonna turn on, leave the compressor and the IR on the Zoom B6. Now we're going to use the preamp from the Line 6 Pod Express bass, which is set. It's on the grit, under grit, but it's supposed to be an Ampeg original SVT. So here we go. So that sounds pretty good with the that was the Line 6 Pod Express bass, and here's the MS-60B. So that was the MS-60B, and now the Ampeg SGT-DI. So as you can see, that SGT got a lot of headroom on it, and you know it's great. It's a great preamp. It's pretty much the sound of the Adventure series, you know what I'm saying? But it's an SVT voicing on this particular setting. Um, so you know, with things like this, you guys, it's really just preference. You know what I'm saying? Like you could. You know, you can like any of these. Like, to be honest with you, none of them really sound bad. Like, you know, they all could be used. They all sound different, which is crazy. They're all supposed to be the same thing, but they all do sound slightly different. And I try to use as close as possible with the settings, but they all sound just slightly different. Like, you know, so it just goes on your preference with this, you know. But I wanted to do a comparison because I didn't see anybody had done a comparison of the SVT settings on these different types of pedals like this. You know, some people are team analog, you know, like they want to have something like the SGT, which is pricey. That's $400 versus the MS-60B. That's 120. The Line 6 Pod Express bass, that's 170. And the Zoom B6, that's 500. So so it just depends on, if you want a complete rig that you have a lot of control over everything, I would say you definitely want to go with something like a B6 for this SVT sound. You'll have the IRs and you'll have the other things you need to really work with the sound. And I'm a component of mixing. If you got the money now, instead of trying to just get one complete digital rig, you get a nice digital rig like this, and then you get you a nice analog preamp. You gotta have an analog preamp to get the ultimate sound. That's the best sound you're gonna get, mixing the two. You know what I'm saying? But if you go straight digital, you could just have a Zoom B6 and that's fine. Plenty of flexibility. If you can't afford that, just get a MS-60B. That's got plenty of flexibility. It's just only four. You don't have as many routing options and things like that, but it's plenty flexible. Plus you got tons of effects, and then you got a ton of flexibility with each effect. So that's always a bonus for me. With the Pod Express bass, it's just so limited. I know it's a beginner pedal, but so is the MS-60B. That's technically a beginner pedal, and it's in the beginner market price range. It's cheaper than the Pod Express. They're beginner pedals, but they're not toys. So there's a difference. Sometimes people be saying, "Well, it's a beginner pedal. But it's not a toy. You're saying it like it's a toy, like it's supposed to suck, and it's not supposed to be actually musical or usable, or have ease of use." That's my main beef with this Pod Express line. Like, it's too much of a learning curve. And if you start buying other pedals, it's like now you got to remember the learning curve for that specific pedal, so you don't use it for a while. That's the thing. Then you forget how stuff. Now you got to pull out the manual to figure out what's going on. But in terms of just the preamp sound, that SVT in there sounds pretty good. That's one of the main things I kind of stressed on the review video is the amps sound pretty good. I like the deluxe compressor, and the filter is pretty cool. The what's that? The mutant future filter on the synth section is pretty good. But yeah, the rest of the stuff was just okay. It ain't gonna get you far, but this MS-60B it get you real far, bro, and it have a lot of flexibility. It gets you really far. So, if you want the SVT, like that analog sound, and you don't want to have to do too much adjustability with stuff, in terms of the IR, you can just get an Ampeg SGT-DI. And it's got built-in IRs. You can load your own IRs, and it does have an IR adjustment software, but it's not flexible enough for me. I don't want a ton of flexibility on my live stuff. I just need enough flexibility to do what I'm trying to do. Like on these IRs on the Zoom B6, I have a low, high, a balance, and I can invert that phase and adjust the balance between whether if I have it inverted, like I have it -11 instead of +12, on there, but it's only 11% of the sound. That's all so that's the rest of that is the preamp sound. So technically, when I'm running this live, I'll have I have a Magellan preamp, was it Gensler, Magellan preamp, a AG preamp, Aguilar AG preamp. And I also have an Eden World Tour WT-DI pedal. So I have different pedals like that, so I can swap out the preamp and use different IRs and stuff in shows, and I'm switching out whole amps and cabinet combinations, which is crazy, flexible on stage, especially with the Zoom B6 and the patches. I just move them around. But yeah, a lot of this is with these pedals is just taking your time and getting to know the pedal. But I kind of gave you guys my settings for how to just get a nice SVT sound, in my opinion, out of each one of these units. You just follow that rule, keep it around 18-20% on the gain. Keep the bass around 3 o'clock. Keep the mid, if you're gonna cut that to about 11, 10:30. You're gonna set the frequency either 250 or 500 in the mids. Then you're gonna boost the highs to about 230. And then bam, you in business. From there, you can do whatever shaping you want to do on your bass or with your fingers. It's really flexible and it works well on each of these units. So definitely subscribe, like, and share. You know what I'm saying? Your boy bringing you exclusive content that's useful to you. If you're into that Ampeg SVT sound, these are some valuable options here. Some really good options. I know there's plenty more options out there, but these are some of my favorite options. I actually like this SGT versus some of the other. Of course, it's by Ampeg. It sounds like that SVT and that B15 circuit is just crazy. But yeah, this has been another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. I am the Bass Negus, Negus. You can find me on all platforms, and I definitely would appreciate if you guys, if you like what you're watching, support the channel, hit the super chat and all that stuff, or super thanks, all that good stuff. I would definitely appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And it helps me. It would help me get more videos done a little quicker. These pedals aren't cheap. You know what I'm saying? Putting out, $100, $200, $500 at a time ain't easy. So, I definitely appreciate some help. It'll help speed things along. But I appreciate y'all just watching. If nothing else, can you just hit that subscribe, like, and the share? You know what I'm saying? If you could, because I would greatly appreciate that. But I'll catch you guys next time. All right. Peace.